This is the work plants do. They bind solar energy and nutrients and water and carbon into organic matter. And some species will do that better than others, given certain conditions.
Forget about sustainability. You want to enrich ecosystems.
Every being is equipped to live a positive, energetic balance.
Keep it pruned.
We are cultivating abundance.
Not a problem to cut down trees. The problem is not planting them.
What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the Agroforestry Academy channel. Today we're having a bit of a different setup. I'm in the car, as you can see, because I just want to talk about something. So I'm not going to be showing you anything in the field, but I want to discuss a very important concept, which is the use of exotic trees in our agroforestry systems. So right now I'm going to the farm, so I've got like about 10 minutes before getting there. That's going to be enough for me to have a nice chat with you about it. I've got my coffee here. So for those of you who don't know the concept, an exotic tree is like the opposite of a native tree. It is a tree that doesn't originally belong to an ecosystem. So that's a tree that was brought by human beings from other parts of the world into into where they live. So that's the concept of an exotic species of plant or animal or anything. And then a native species is a species that was always there, or we can't say always, but was there before human beings were there. So that's the idea. Lots of people they don't like exotic species. They don't like exotic species. Of course, they do like exotic species because every human being in the world eats a lot of food that was produced by exotic species. So, they do like it, but they don't like it. They don't like to use exotic species for recovering and regenerating ecosystems. And I hope to show you why that is a flawed concept, like not using exotic species. The claim is that exotic species take up the space of native species. And they go as far as to claim that not only they take up the space, they will invade and they will destroy other species somehow. They will destroy the native species environment. So that's a pretty heavy claim. We need to discuss it further. We need to discuss it thoroughly because you guys, if you have been following us for a while, you know that we have no quarrel whatsoever with exotic species. We love exotic species. We think they are essential to regenerating ecosystems. And so that's a completely different concept than what some people have, of that exotic species have a negative influence. And the reason why people think that they have a negative influence is that they see environments taken over by exotic species. Now, why does that happen? Why do we see exotic species having an invasive potential? And the reason is pretty simple. When an ecosystem has been degraded, let's come back a bit. Oh, let me show you something cool before we're taking a stroll. So it's you see that? That's called a sapucaia. Yeah, let me go down to show it to you. So this is a nut, right? It produces this pretty big balls. These are really hard, and then there's a sort of lid on it, and it will come out, and then the seeds will fall, and the seeds are edible. This is a somewhat close relative to the Brazilian nut tree, but I personally don't like the nut as much as the Brazilian nut tree. It's called sapucaia. All right, so back to the exotic species. So what makes a species grow well into a certain place? Let's consider the variables. So first of all, climate. Of course, that's given, right? The climate is given. There's not much we can do about it. You're either in a tropical zone, a subtropical, a temperate climate, an Arctic climate, humid, subhumid, dry. So it is given. Okay. Of course, it changes a little bit over time, but not significantly in our lifespan. So we will consider that climate is given. Now we have a lot of influence over the conditions of the soil. Okay. We can have a huge impact on the conditions of the soil for better and for worse. So when an ecosystem has degraded because of bad use, by using it wrongly and using poor agricultural practices, we will completely destroy the soil, completely destroy the organic matter of the soil, and this will make the soil have less nutrients and less water available to the plants. And then you might ask, oh, but if the annual rainfall hasn't changed, how is there less water available to the plants? Well, that's very simple. The soil is able to hold less water once it loses organic matter, once it loses its structure, once it loses its biodiversity. Actually, not biodiversity. That's the wrong, not the precise concept. When it loses the richness, the wealth of life in the soil, it doesn't necessarily have to be super diverse. So now we have a degraded land with less nutrients and less water available to the plants. Now, the native plants, they were used to grow in specific conditions, and now these conditions are worse off. So what happens is that plants that come from environments which are less favored in regards to water and nutrients available will grow better there than the native plants, because the soil has changed. So the native plants, which have evolved throughout millennia, millions of years, to grow in specific conditions, now these conditions are not available anymore. So it so happens that other plants are more, they're better equipped. They're better equipped to work on those conditions. You will never ever see a species that comes from an ecosystem with more water available and more nutrients available to become an invasive species. Okay, that doesn't work. It's not possible. Here in my place, for example, we have between 800 and 1,200 millimeters of rain a year. We've got poor soils with no phosphorus available, a pH of 4.5, like 2-3% of organic matter is the current levels. I'm never going to see a plant from the Amazon rainforest becoming invasive here, because plants from the Amazon rainforest need 1,800, 2,000 millimeters of rain a year. They will grow in poor acidic soils, but there's just not enough rain for them to become invasive. What I will see invading here are plants from the dry lands of Brazil, because they will grow better with less water available, since our soils are completely degraded and they don't hold water. I'm going to see plants from the semi-arid regions showing up here because it's a close by ecosystem. So the seeds will come, and then other plants from that might have come from other parts of the world. Some species of leucaena, eucalyptus, plants that tolerate strong droughts, they might become invasive species here. But that's just because the environment has been degraded and the native species won't grow so well here. So, that's what creates an invasive species. So you see, the point is not that these invasive species are taking up the space of the native plants. The thing is that the space of the native plants has been destroyed. So there is a vacuum, there's a gap created in the ecosystem. And nature doesn't care where a plant comes from. Nature cares about healthy ecosystem. Nature cares about using all of the sunlight available. Nature cares about organizing nutrients in the soil in a way to produce more life. And on degraded ecosystems, we will need to use exotic species to achieve that purpose because they are better equipped to work on current degraded conditions. And then there's a very simple question we can ask ourselves, which is, if I plant an exotic species, the soil does not reject it. The animals do not reject it. Nature doesn't reject it. Why would I reject it and say, okay, this plant comes from Australia or India or Africa, so I'm not going to plant it here? But the soil likes it, the animals like it, so who am I to say that it shouldn't grow here? It is a very arrogant and honestly, okay, that my mobile fell. Honestly, I think it's not only arrogant, but it's a bit naive because nature is just so much more complex than that, and nature is always changing. We claim native species to be native, but nature is always changing. Human beings are only one of these agents of change. Currents of air, the ocean, other animals, they will bring and take species of plants to other places. So we need to stop focusing so much on the individual plants, and we need to focus on the ecosystem. We need to understand if a species, the work it will do for the ecosystem. Basically, what we want to do is to bind as much nutrients as we can in organic matter. And this is nutrients and sunlight, right? This is the job, this is the work plants do. They bind solar energy and nutrients and water and carbon into organic matter. And some species will do that better than others, given certain conditions. So on our degraded lands, we should look for those species that will do well on those conditions, that will grow fast, that will produce lots of organic matter. And species that grow fast, they usually accumulate lots of water in their tissues, and this will retain water in the system. This will create, and they will be doing lots of photosynthesis and transpiration. This will create a good cycle of the water. And for the idea, and now narrowing down on the eucalyptus problem because I think it is the most condemned species in the world because it is so efficient. You know, there are countries that have banned the use of eucalyptus, which is quite silly, in my opinion, because they say it will dry up the soil. They say it will become invasive. It will destroy the soil because it is allelopathic, so nothing will grow underneath it. But just consider how are people planting eucalyptus. You know, they plant it in monocultures and in high densities. It is a monostratum system. You know, soybeans will dry up the soil just as much. Any species will dry up an ecosystem just as much if you plant a monoculture of it in high densities. In order to retain water in the system, you need a multi-stratum system, and you need to be causing disturbances to the system. So, you know, this is all. It is funny how our society can condemn a species when actually the system of production is to be condemned. It's just like condemning the cow or condemning the sheep or whatever. Some people will condemn cows because, oh, cows destroy the environment. You know, they've been around for longer than we have, and they haven't destroyed anything. So is the cow to be blamed, or is the system of cow production to be blamed? So it's the same thing for vegetable species. You know, are the specific trees to be blamed for invasiveness, or is our system of production to be blamed? Or is our destruction to be blamed? You know, the destruction we cause to the ecosystem that now crave for other species to come on and fill in the gaps. Nature will choose every single time to have a forest composed of exotic species than to have bare land, and we should too. You know, so yeah, I think I've rambled on quite a lot now. Anyway, I decided to do this video because there was a question in a syntropic community group recently about, you know, people are always looking for, oh, can you tell me other species beside eucalyptus that will grow, you know, just as fast and just as straight and that will produce as much organic matter? And I have nothing against people looking for other species. And personally, in my plot, I don't really use eucalyptus because it is hard for me to get seedlings around here. And honestly, I've had terrible experiences with eucalyptus here because of the amount of leaf cutter ants around. So the eucalyptus will just not grow. The ants will not allow it. And combating the ants would be such huge effort because of the size, you know, the amount of ants that you have, that I just chose to use other species which the ants will not cut. So I think it's fine and well and desirable to look for other more efficient species for your place, but not because they are native, but rather because they are more efficient. This should be the features of the plant that you choose based on. You know, it should be effectiveness and efficiency. That's all. There's no native, non-native. Because honestly, if you're choosing based on a plant, if it's native or non-native, honestly, to me, that's racism. And personally, I don't like it because you're basing your choice on where the plant comes from, and that's you know, nature knows no border. Nature knows no border, so you know it just doesn't work. So yeah, do look for other more efficient species. but erase the concept of exotic species and of your system. They're all native species to our planet, and if they grow well in your region, if they produce organic matter, if they are doing photosynthesis and harvesting carbon from the atmosphere and organizing soil nutrients into organic matter, and they are structuring the soil with their roots, and they're creating environments for microorganisms to grow in, and they're producing food for insects, for animals, for your cattle, just use them. Just use them. There's absolutely no problem with it. And so yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, do smash the like button. This is the biggest help you can give us if you smash that like button right now, because it will give us it will help with the algorithms. And if you're new to our channel, do check out our full agroforestry course. We've got over 5 hours of lesson in that course, and you will get acquainted with lots of the concepts that we discussed here. Also, if you want to support us, do join our Patreon community. You will get some more material if you join us there. We're always sharing some more stuff with our patrons, and it is a way for you to help us keep on bringing free agroforestry training material to everybody all around the world. And we want to keep on improving that material. So, we want to improve on our equipment. We're planning on doing a new agroforestry course, and we want to make it free for everybody, but we do need support to do that. So, the Agroforestry Academy course 2.0 hopefully will be coming out next year. We don't know when yet, but it is in our plans. So, joining our Patreon community is the way for you to help us out, to spread the word around. All right, so I thank you for watching. I'm Felipe for the Agroforestry Academy, and I'm signing out.